Hear that bass player? Woo! Woo! Just amazing. Well, now it's your turn. Tell us about your favorite holiday songs. It can literally be anything as long as it has a story to go with it. And even though Christmas, Kwanzaa, and Hanukkah are almost upon us, it could be any song that you just love to hear around this time of year. So call us with your requests, 204-788-3663. Remember, we love storytellers. Tell us the story as to why this is your favorite Christmas tune. 204-788-3663 or email uptospeed@cbc.ca. Time right now is 5:43. And Paul Haberstreet joins us now with a business report. Hello, Paul.
Is Milo Vesponium your request?
Yeah.
Man. Tomorrow maybe we had a little night flight to Venus.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah, maybe some Rasputin. That'd be great.
I like your style, Paul.
All right. Right back at you, kid.
Here we go. Now, we've been hearing about this new legislation designed to narrow the gap in cross-border prices. I'm starting to realize this might not be as exciting as I initially thought it was. Do you think this is going to translate into lower prices?
Yeah, we had a little sizzle when we first heard about it this morning, and you started to dig into it, maybe less sizzle. So at this point, the Price Transparency Act looks to be more about finding out how prices are set rather than something that will take some tangible steps to change what consumers actually pay. So this legislation will give the Competition Bureau more power to investigate why Canadian prices might be higher than the U.S. The Commission may then publish a report on its findings, so that's all very interesting. I talked to Adam Pinacki about it. He's a lawyer at Davies, Ward, Phillips & Weinberg, and he also used to work for the Competition Bureau. And he says this new legislation does have some potential, but it shouldn't be thought of as a seismic change.
I think the big question is whether consumers will see any benefit in this, and whether or not we will actually see active enforcement of this provision. There's a lot of unknowns between where we stand today and an actual lower price for Canadian consumers.
So the timing of this particular bill is also interesting because it seemed pretty relevant, or at least more relevant when prices were at parity. Now that the dollar is much lower, sort of the impetus for it feels like might have slipped a bit, but something's been in the works for a while, and we also can't help but notice that we're heading into an election year, and this is a bill that targets consumers, so it feels like there's a bit of retail politics at play here, particularly when we consider that the industry minister made the announcement from a Toys R Us, in front of baby strollers, so there's some interesting optics at play today.
No doubt. Another area I was hoping it would make a difference is airline tickets. That looks like we're still going to be paying more above the border than below, but at least Canadian airline passengers will have some more options next year, won't they?
Yeah, they will. Air Canada has announced it's adding some new routes. So starting next year, Air Canada Rouge, which right now only flies internationally, it's a bit of a vacation airline, will start offering its first domestic routes, Calgary to Halifax being one of them I found interesting. So right now, Air Canada, as we know, it's facing more competition from WestJet, particularly WestJet Encore, as Encore pushes into Eastern Canada. Robert Kokonis is the president of airline consultancy Airtrap, and he says some of these new routes certainly do look like they're a response to what WestJet is doing with Encore.
That's a very prudent move. It's preemptive strike as far as ensuring as Encore starts to roll out further across the country from WestJet, that Air Canada has an appropriate response.
So more competition often leads to lower prices, which is a good thing. As we look at the list of the new routes, there's nothing specifically for Winnipeg yet, so we'll have to wait and see if something like that might be on the way.
I'd have to say, though, after we've seen the drop in oil prices not translate into lower airfares, I wonder if there's anything that can make fares go down.
Grumble.
Yeah.
Grumble about that.
I'm a grumbling. All right, and I hear it's a safe bet that Canada's energy sector didn't find last night's Colbert report that funny. Why not?
Well, Stephen Colbert's guest last night was President Obama, of all people, and they talked about the Keystone Pipeline. And, the president's been out there, he's been talking about Keystone, but it was really interesting to hear what he had to say last night.
We've got to make sure that it's not adding to the problem of carbon and climate change, because these young people are going to have to live in a world where we already know temperatures are going up. And Keystone is a potential contributor of that. We have to examine that, and we have to weigh that against the amount of jobs it's actually going to create, which aren't a lot.
Now, what's particularly interesting here, I thought, was the president's discussion about upstream emissions. So he's saying if a major new pipeline project goes ahead, that's something that's going to facilitate more oil being pulled to the ground, and then that oil will be burned. When you look at how we consider these things in Canada, the NEB, for instance, which is our national regulator, it doesn't consider upstream emissions when it's deciding whether or not to give the go-ahead to a pipeline. Certainly, it said explicitly when it was deciding about Northern Gateway that upstream emissions were outside of its purview. So interesting, at this point to highlight the differences between how the U.S. is looking at the environmental effect of a pipeline and how Canada's treating it. And certainly it looks like the president is going to have to make a decision sooner rather than later. It's thought that early in the new year, Congress will put this in front of them.
Okay, and the latest computer hacking saga just keeps getting stranger. What's happening over at Sony?
Well, hackers who may or may not be working for North Korea just keep tormenting poor Sony Pictures. So this hacker group, it almost seems every day is finding new ways to attack Sony. I've got a few details here of that range really from the serious to kind of absurd. So there have been extortion attempts, which are pretty serious. Hackers have also released thousands of social security numbers onto the internet of Sony employees, among them Sylvester Stallone and Judd Apatow. Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad, he has a new script and a new pilot project. That's out there now because hackers leaked it. Internal documents leaked by hackers also suggest that Sony employees think their studio makes too many Adam Sandler movies. So somewhere Adam Sandler's like, why did I deserve this? So
Why are you picking on him?
I made a couple duds. I'm still Happy Gilmore. Salary information is out there. There's also a list of aliases used by celebrities, and this is kind of weird. We now know that Tom Hanks sometimes goes by the handle Johnny Madrid. I like to be known as Johnny Madrid sometimes. And
He's let into every club.
oh, absolutely. If your name is Johnny Madrid, there is no line, no cover. Jessica Alba goes by Cash Money. I don't think she had any problems with the Velvet Rope either, though.
No.
So the best guess as to why all this is happening, it seems like a new release and a new leak every day, is the best guess is hackers want Sony to stop the release of a new comedy called The Interview, starring Seth Rogen and James Franco, and it's about knocking off the leader of North Korea. So apparently Kim Jong-un, not happy.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on Johnny Madrid. That is awesome. What happened in the markets today?
Better day today than yesterday. TSX up 51 points to 14,195. Dow down 59 to 17,801. S&P was flat at 2059. Our dollar was up just shy of a third of a cent. Finished at 87.41 cents US. Natural gas was up 2 cents to 3.65. Oil up 77 cents to 63.82. And gold finished up nearly $37 at 12.31 an ounce.
All right, thanks a lot, Paul.
Thanks, Mom.
Have a great night. Bye. There's Paul Haverstrood with our business report. Time right now is 5:50, and you are listening to Up to Speed on CDC Radio 1, 89.3 FM and 990 AM. The U.S. Senate has released an in-depth report on the CIA's interrogation practices following the 9/11 terrorist attacks.